Record bankruptcies are on the way, not just for people, for the working class, but also for states. Hey everybody, JJ here. It is Thursday, April 23rd. Thank you for coming back to the channel for this update today. Now real quick before we get started, a new Patreon only video was uploaded. Yeah, that's me right there. I talk in that video about why I don't show my face and some other things that I don't talk about here in the channel. So if you'd like to hear a little more about me, or want to connect with me, or if you just want to support me, if you like these videos, if you get information, feel free to go down to description. It'll be a link over there to Patreon. You can support me down there if you like our work, and you can also connect with me there. You can message me, things like that. So let's get into the news today. Now before we talk about the bankruptcies, let's talk about the stock market. It's really interesting times right now. There's people out there, mainstream people and also YouTube economists, that claim to be stock market experts, and more than one of them have said for a long time that the stock market was dictated by oil prices. And now we have oil prices dropping to zero and negative zero if you look at the futures market, and yet the stock market is still not crashing. In fact, the stock market saw a very big correction from the lows of about 18,000, and now we're over 23,000, and we're likely to hit 24,000 in the next few days. And that's about a 50% correction from the lows. And where are these stock experts now who have said that the oil determined the stock market? Right? So a lot of people, even so-called experts, are really starting to wake up to the actual manipulation that's taking place right now. And they're actually realizing that this is completely disconnected from reality. It's disconnected from any commodity. Right? We now have the Fed, the buyer and the seller of last resort, and they're even coming out and saying it, that there's unlimited funds available, unlimited stimulus available to pump into this economy. But my goodness, how wasteful is the spending, and how wasteful is the stimulus money? We have Ivy League schools, universities getting stimulus money. For example, Harvard. Now they said they're going to be giving the money back. I've heard back and forth stories on that. But how misallocated is this money? We have large corporations getting bailout money that was meant for small businesses. Here's a story right here. Small Business Rescue has earned banks billions of dollars in fees, about $10 billion. So as we can see, this system of the government running everything is the worst kind of system you could have. At least if you give the money to people, they can determine where this money is going to be best spent. Now there's also a problem there because we have a lot of people that spend foolishly in this country. Right? There's so much money going into the hands of individuals and corporations that do not need this. The banks are profiting even more so, even though the banks have been very irresponsible in not holding enough in reserves. Therefore they had to have the liquidity injections. So we continue to see bad behavior and bad business practices getting rewarded. The banks continue to profit from this, and no matter how many bonuses are handed out to the CEO and upper level executives, and no matter how much these people make in stock buybacks and insider transactions, they're always going to get bailed out because the banks have been declared too big to fail. We really need to get back to sound money in this country. Now once this lockdown ends, I think a lot of people are going to be in for a rude awakening. A lot of people think this is going to be like a switch, that the economy is shut down right now, it's off, and then it's going to be turned right back on, and that everything is going to go back to normal. No, it's not going to be even close to normal. Again, many small businesses are not going to survive this. The businesses are being offered forgivable loans where if they don't lay off their employees, if they keep their payroll, then the loan's going to be forgivable, right? But that's not going to be enough because of many of the customers are not going to return to these businesses. Even if the businesses survive, many businesses are not going to be even able to open their doors back up. A loan is not going to save a lot of these businesses, even if the loan itself is forgiven, because the damage has been done. And the ones that do open back up, good luck staying in business when the customer base is essentially tapped out. A $1,200 stimulus with $500 per child is not going to have people in a very good financial position. That's not even enough to pay maybe a half a month's rent in certain cities. So this economy here in the U.S. that's based on consumerism and people swiping their credit cards, it's going to take a big dive. And these businesses, even if they do open their doors back up, I think the doors are going to be closing. Many of these businesses, the doors are going to be closing rather rapidly. Recent Bloomberg article here, record bankruptcies predicted in the next year as unemployment soars. Even as of March, some states have seen up to a 10% increase in bankruptcies, and we're just getting started. This is not even really kicked into the worst part yet, in my opinion. We're only about 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks into the shutdown. And just wait until inflation in some areas kicks in. Now, I think there's going to be deflation in housing, and oil's going to have a really hard time gaining again. I don't think it'll get back to where it had been. I don't think it's going to get up to $40 or $50 a barrel for many years. I think it will recover some, but in some areas where production is really slowed down, like food, for example, we have meat plants shut down because of the sickness outbreak, and there's already talks about empty shelves in stores for weeks and weeks, especially in perishables. So when production slows down, but when people still have money to spend, you could start seeing inflation, especially in these items in food. Now, it's going to depend on what happens with the stimulus. Are they going to do UBI, where everybody gets $2,000 a month? I believe there was a politician from Ohio that was proposing $2,000 a month payments, even for people that are 16 or 17 years old. Can you imagine what a 16 or 17-year-old is going to do? I believe it was 17 or 18, I believe. Can you imagine what they're going to do with $2,000 a month? Right? There's 20, 30, and 40-year-olds who don't even know how to balance a checkbook and do not know how to stay out of debt, and you're going to give a 17-year-old $2,000 stimulus. Just insane times that we're in right now. But it's not just individuals. States are also going to have to file bankruptcy. We know there are many states that are carrying a lot of debt. Just look at Illinois. And again, they're not going to be able to raise taxes. The working class can't even make it 1 month, missing 1 or 2 paychecks. And yet somehow these states plan on raising taxes to pay for these pensions and all of these programs. Well, they're going to have to start laying off people. And Mitch McConnell was out there saying that cash-strapped states hit by the virus should go bankrupt rather than receive emergency federal aid. Now, these states that do file bankruptcy and get their debts wiped away, they're going to need to retool and start operating in a way where they don't have to take on debt. And that's going to be slashed pensions, that's going to be slashed wages, and it just looks like things are going to get uglier and uglier and uglier as this progresses. Now let's talk about just some very bad things that are happening from this lockdown. There's a lot of unintended consequences here. For example, we're seeing rising domestic violence now with the lockdowns. One is people are stressed out about money, and that typically is one of the number one things. One of the top things in relationship is financial stress. And with all these layoffs and small business shutdowns and job losses, a lot of people are feeling the stress, and it's causing some domestic disturbances, to say the least. Right? Also, stress and depression are increasing. We have anti-anxiety medications now spiking 34% during the outbreak here, during the lockdown. And again, it raises the question, is the cure worse than the illness? Right? Some people say yes, it's worse. Some people say no. They say if it wasn't for the lockdown, many more infections would be out there happening. I'm not a medical expert. I don't know. But I do know that on top of the financial situation that the United States is in, this lockdown, this shutdown, this added stress is going to make this downturn much worse than it would have been otherwise. We're going to wrap it up right here. This episode was brought to you by SD Bullion. They are a sponsor of this channel, and they've been running very, very low on inventory. You might have heard about the silver shortage, but I've been checking here and I've been finding some silver and gold in stock, and I've got a link down below. You actually help out the channel if you use that link. And this is a link to just the in-stock items here. So you can see some silver rounds right here in the $18 range, or as low as $18, depending on how much you buy. These prices could change at any time, so please check the link. Try to order while you can if you are looking for silver, if you want to guard against possible inflation coming in the future, maybe even hyperinflation. We'll have to see what happens. I'm not giving investment advice, but I do think that precious metals should be part of anyone's portfolio to guard against a currency collapse or hyperinflation. And who knows what the real price is for metals? There's also so much manipulation going on. If and when true price discovery finally arrives, I think a lot of people may be very surprised that precious metals and especially silver has been very suppressed. So again, check the link below for the silver deals, SD Bullion. Great service, fast delivery, reliable from my experience. Also Patreons, please check the link below if you'd like to support the channel. If you're not a Patreon yet, link below, please check it out. Thanks for watching. Thank you for being here.